was running. His boots hit the smooth metal floor of the alien palace, as alarms echoed through the hall's red lights flashed across tall white walls. Carved with symbols older than humanity, every breath burned his chest, but he did not slow down. Behind him, the sound of armored footsteps grew closer. Royal guards, fast-trained, merciless. Owen turned a corner and slid behind a tall crystal pillar. He pressed his back against it and tried to calm his breathing. His heart felt like it would tear itself apart. This was not how it was supposed to end. Only hours ago, he had been standing beside her, the alien princess. Calm, silent, watching the stars through a wide window. She had smiled at him in that strange, gentle way that never matched the fear people spoke about everyone. Said she was dangerous, a living weapon the future ruler of the Empire Yuan had never seen. That he had seen loneliness, pressure, a power she never asked for. A sharp voice echoed through the hall. Find the human, the queen wants him alive, Yuan felt. Cold, the queen, he had hoped he could escape before she noticed, but hope was a fragile thing in this place. He moved again, slipping through a side corridor. The palace was massive, built to make visitors feel small. Humans, especially Yuan, was only a technician sent to repair old systems. No one else understood humans were useful, because Yuan. They fixed things and asked few questions until they asked the wrong ones. The floor shook as heavy doors closed somewhere ahead, blocking exits. Yuan stopped. There was no more running. A deep silence filled the hall. Even the alarms faded. Then the guard stepped aside. She appeared. The alien queen was taller than any being Yuan had ever seen. Her skin shimmered like dark glass. Her eyes held centuries of command, and when she walked, the palace itself seemed to listen. Yuan slowly raised his hands. He expected anger, threats, punishment. Instead, her voice was calm. Why are you fleeing my daughter? The question echoed louder than any alarm. Yuan looked up. The entire royal court had gathered behind her. Generals, scientists, nobles, all watching him, the human who dared run from the princess. Unayan swallowed. He remembered the first day he met her. She had been standing alone in a training chamber, energy dancing around her hands. The room cracked under the pressure of her power. Everyone else stayed far away. Yuan had walked in by accident. Instead of killing him, she asked his name. That was the beginning. Ian looked back at the queen. Because staying would destroy her. A ripple passed through the court. The queen narrowed her eyes. Explain. But before Ian could speak, the princess stepped forward. Mother, stop. Her voice was soft, but it silenced everyone. She looked at Ian. Her expression was not angry, it was sad. Ian felt his chest tighten. The queen raised one hand, and the princess stopped. This concerns you more than you know. The queen turned back to Ian. You claim you fled to protect my daughter. Ian nodded. I am human. We break easily, we die fast, but we learn when to walk away. That made the queen pause. Ian continued. Your daughter is not a weapon to me. She is a person, and she is being pushed toward something she cannot stop. The princess lowered her eyes. The queen felt something shift inside her, something uncomfortable. Guards reported. No attack, no sabotage, only escape. Yet the human spoke with certainty. Un took a slow breath. Every day she grows stronger. Every day the power inside her pulls harder, and every day you all tell her she must be perfect. Un looked directly at the queen. I stayed as long as I could, but my presence made it worse. She trusted me, and that trust was waking something ancient. The court murmured, ancient. The queen raised her hand again. Silence. She stepped closer to Un. You suggest my empire is endangering its future. Un did not hesitate. Yes, that single word hit harder than any weapon. The queen studied him carefully. This was not fear, not rebellion. This was responsibility. Something rare. She turned to her daughter. Is this true? The princess closed her eyes. I feel it too, mother. When he is near the power listens. The hall went silent. The queen looked back at Yuan. And you chose to flee instead of warn us. Yuan nodded. You would not. I'll listen. No one listens when power is useful. The queen felt her breath slow. For the first time in centuries, someone had spoken to her, not as a ruler, but as a mother. Guard stepped down. The order shocked everyone. You and felt his knees weaken. The queen turned to the court. Leave us one by one. They obeyed. Only the queen, the princess, and the human remained. The queen looked at On. Your answers left me breathless, human, and this is only the beginning. On. You knew then the chase was over, but the real story had just begun. When you were ready, just say. The chamber felt smaller now, not because the walls moved, but because the truth had entered the room. Ewan stood quietly, his hands still shaking, not from fear, but from relief. The alien queen walked slowly toward her daughter, each step heavy, each step uncertain. For the first time in her long reign, she did not know what to say. The princess stood still, her glowing eyes dimmer than usual. The energy around her hands faded into soft light. "Queen Mother," the princess said gently, "I did not ask him to stay, and I did not ask him to run." The queen looked at her, then at you. "We're assigned here as a technician." She said, "Why did you remain close to my daughter?" Yuen answered honestly, "Because she asked me to." The queen paused. Humans were never supposed to be near the royal bloodline, especially not the heir yet. The princess had chosen him. The queen turned away. Memories returned to her, memories she had buried under duty. When the princess was born, the empire celebrated. Burned brighter, ancient machines awakened, and old prophecies returned from silence. The child of convergence, the living crown from that day. The princess was no longer just her daughter, she was destiny. The queen clenched her fists. Training began, early control drills, energy shaping mind barriers. The princess never complained. She learned fast every year. Her power grew every year. The ancient systems reacted stronger. Scientists said it was good. Generals said it was necessary. No one asked how it felt until a human did. Unbroke the silence. She laughs when no one is watching. She listens when others only command. She fears what she might become. The queen felt a sharp pain in her chest. Fear. That word was forbidden. The princess looked at Un. "You were not supposed to say that." Un met her eyes. Someone had to. The room trembled. Suddenly a low hum filled the air. The walls vibrated, lights flickered. The queen turned sharply. "What is happening?" The princess closed her eyes. "It reacts when truth is spoken." The ancient core beneath the palace. "It feels intent." The queen stiffened. The core was older than the empire, older than written history. It powered the throne, the defense grids, the crown itself. It was also linked to her daughter. Une stepped back. "This is what I meant. The power listens to her emotions, to connection." He swallowed. "And she is learning how to feel." The princess opened her eyes, fear visible now. "I do not want to rule with fear," she said, "but the power does not care." The queen looked at her child for the first time, not as an heir, but as someone standing at the edge of something. Endless guards rushed into the chamber. "My queen, the core is increasing output. We cannot slow it." The queen raised her hand. "Leave us." They hesitated, then obeyed. The queen turned to Un. "You knew this would happen." Un nodded. "Not today, but soon." Every time she trusts. Every time she connects, the power wakes more. He looked at the princess. "You deserve a life, not a cage. It's made of gold and energy." The princess felt tears forming. "They say, if I lose control, worlds could fall." Ian spoke softly. "And that is why they never let you choose." The queen felt the truth strike deep. She had built an empire on control, and wrapped her daughter inside it. The chamber shook again. Cracks formed along the ceiling. The core was reacting faster. The queen stepped forward. "What do humans do when something powerful becomes dangerous?" Yuen answered, "Without pride, we step away, even if it hurts." The princess looked at her mother. "I do not want to be alone." The queen felt something break inside her. She placed her hands on her daughter's shoulders. "You are not alone then." She turned to Uan. "If I let you leave, will the power calm?" Uan nodded. "Distance slows it. Choice weakens its grip." The queen closed her eyes. Centuries of tradition. Power, fear, all weighed against one life, one daughter. Opened the outer gates. The queen commanded. Alarms echoed again, but this time they were different. Not pursuit, but release. Yuen looked at the princess. "I am sorry." The princess stepped closer. "You did what no one else could." She touched his hand briefly. The energy around her softened. The shaking slowed. The core's hum lowered. The queen watched in silence, understanding. Finally arrived. The human was not a threat. He was balance. In turned toward the exit. Each step felt heavier than the last behind him. The princess watched, not as a weapon, not as royalty, but as someone learning how to choose. The queen spoke one last time. "This empire may change because of you." Une did not turn back. "Change is not destruction." He said, "Sometimes it is survival." The gates open. Stars filled the horizon. Une walked into the light, and behind him, the most powerful empire in the stars stood, uncertain, waiting. The outer gates closed behind Une. Space stretched wide and silent before him. Stars burned softly like distant Fires his transport waited near the edge of the platform, but he did not move inside. The palace, something had changed. The alien queen stood alone in the command chamber watching the energy readings rise and fall. Not violently now, but uneven. Uncertain, the ancient core was no longer obeying commands instantly. It was hesitating, that frightened the council. High nobles gathered in a wide circle, their voices sharp, their patience thin. "This is dangerous," one of them said. "The human must be returned." Another spoke quickly. "The air is unstable. Without control, she could trigger collapse." The queen listened, but did not answer. She remembered Aaron's words, "Choice weakens its grip." No one in the room had ever spoken about choice, only duty, only necessity. "Where is my daughter?" the queen asked. "She is in the inner garden," a guard replied, "alone." The queen nodded and dismissed the council. Their anger followed her, but she did not slow. The inner garden was built around living stone. Light flowed gently from above, plants from 100 worlds grew together. The princess stood near the center, hands trembling slightly, energy pulsing softly around her. "You should not be here alone," the queen said. The princess turned for once. She did not bow. "Mother," she said quietly, "do you know what the core whispers?" The queen stiffened. "No." The princess looked down at her hands. "It asks me what I want." The queen felt her breath catch. The core had never asked, it only demanded. The princess continued, "For my whole life it pulled me toward power, toward control, toward obedience." She looked up now. "It waits." The queen stepped closer. "Because you are no longer alone." The princess shook her head. "No, because I was finally allowed to choose far beyond the palace." Yuen stood on the platform watching the stars. His transport crew waited patiently. They did not ask questions, they knew better. Yuen felt the silence press against him. He wondered if the power had already grown worse, if leaving had come too late. Then his communicator pulsed a signal, not official, not encrypted. It was hers. Un hesitated, then answered. "I felt it change," the princess said. "Your distance helped." Un closed his eyes. "Good." There was a pause. "Will you come back?" Un did not answer. "Right away I cannot," he said. "Not now." Another pause. "I understand," she replied, "but I will remember." The signal ended. Un felt something heavy settle inside him. Inside the palace, the council grew restless. Reports came fast. The core output is fluctuating. "We recommend immediate restriction of the air." The queen stood. "No." The council froze. "You will not cage her. You will not command her power. You will not turn my daughter into a tool. This has been the way for centuries," a noble argued. "And that is why the way must end." The queen replied. She turned toward the observation window. For the first time, the empire would face the future without chains. Guards were redeployed, protocols dismantled, ancient commands overridden. The core resisted, but not violently. It adapted. The princess watched the changes, fear and hope mixing inside her mother. "What if I fail?" The queen placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then you will fail as yourself, not as a weapon." The princess felt the power soften again. It responded not to fear, but to honesty. Away. Aaron's transport launched. Stars streaked past, systems hummed. A crew member glanced at him. "You changed something back there?" Unan shook his head. "No, I just stopped pretending." Days passed. News traveled fast. "The Empire has halted the weapon doctrine. The air has been released from mandatory command protocols. Human advisors are being consulted." The galaxy listened. Some laughed, some feared, others waited. On a remote station, Ewan received a final message, not from the princess, from the queen human. She said, "Your people walk away from power when it threatens life. That makes you dangerous in a way we did not understand." Un replied, "Simply dangerous to ourselves." First the queen paused. "My daughter is calmer. The core is quieter. The empire is uncertain." Unan smiled faintly. "Uncertainty means growth." The queen sent one final message. "The stars will remember this moment." Unan looked out into space. He was just a technician, just a human. But somewhere behind him, an empire had learned restraint, and somewhere within it, a princess was no longer alone. The galaxy did not change with fire. It changed with distance, with silence, with a single human choosing to walk away, and that choice echoed louder than any weapon. The galaxy did not react with silence. It reacted with fear. News of the alien empire changing its ancient rules spread fast to fast border systems. Raised shields, old enemies, sharpened weapons. Neutral worlds stopped answering calls. An empire built on absolute power, choosing restraint, was seen as weakness. Inside the royal capital, the council chamber was full again. This time the voices were louder. They will test us, one general said. They already move fleets. Near our borders another noble spoke with anger. The air's power kept them afraid. Now they see hesitation. The alien queen stood at the center, her face calm. Her mind-burning hesitation is not weakness. She said fear without control is. The council did not like that answer far. Below the palace, deep beneath layers of stone and energy, the ancient core shifted again, not violently, but uneasily. The princess felt it while standing alone in the training hall. No guards, no watchers, only open space. The power still flowed through her, but now it felt different, not like a chain, but like a question. What will you do? She raised her hand slowly. Energy formed, but she did not shape it. She let it exist. The core responded softly for the first time. She was not fighting it, she was listening. On a distant human station, Ian followed the news in silence. Screens showed movement ships, fleets, lines drawn across star maps. A crew member spoke. They are preparing for conflict. Ian nodded. They always do. You think this is your fault? The crew member asked. Ian did not answer. He remembered the princess's eyes, the way the power had calmed when she chose not to command it. Change always scares those who benefit from the old way. Back in the palace, a message arrived from the outer defense ring. Unknown fleet entering controlled space. Multiple signatures. The council erupted. This is the result of mercy, a general shouted. The queen raised her hand. Prepare defenses, but do not strike first. The words shocked the room. The princess entered. Quietly, mother, she said. Let me speak. The council froze. This was not protocol. The queen hesitated, then nodded. The princess stepped forward. The power around her rose slightly. Not sharp, not threatening, steady. I will face them, she said. The council protested. No, you are too valuable. The princess looked at them. I am not a symbol. I am not a weapon. She turned to her mother. You taught me control. Now teach me. Trust the queen. Felt pride and fear twist together. Permission granted. She said. The council fell silent. The princess boarded a diplomatic vessel unarmed. Alone, the ancient core pulsed softly, not in warning, but in support far away. Un felt something, a pressure in his chest. He did not know why. The alien vessel met the unknown fleet at the edge of space. Dozens of warships, weapons charged. A message was broadcast. State your intent. The princess responded calmly. I come without weapons. I come to speak. Laughter filled the enemy channels. You ruled through fear. Now you come begging. The princess closed her eyes. The power stirred, not violently. Clearly fear is loud, she said, but it is not strong. The enemy fleet locked weapons. The princess opened her eyes and chose. She did not attack. She did not defend. She let the power flow outward, not as force, but as presence. The ancient core echoed the choice. Space itself seemed to slow. The enemy fleet felt it. Their systems trembled, not from damage, but from recognition. This power was not controlled, not commanded. It was restrained. Their weapons powered down confusion. Spread. What is this one, Captain? Whispered. The princess spoke. This is what we could have been all along. Inside the palace, the council stared at the feeds. Impossible. A general breathed. The queen stood tall. No inevitable on the human station. Alerts faded. Fleet movement halted. UN exhaled. She did it. The princess returned hours later, exhausted but smiling. The power around her dimmed naturally. The queen embraced her, ignoring every rule. You chose peace, she said. The princess nodded, and the power listened. The ancient core stabilized for the first time in history. It did not demand, it followed. The galaxy watched and learned. Power without chains, without fear, was more frightening than any weapon. And received one final message. You were right, the princess said. Walking away saved more than staying. Yuan smiled quietly. Sometimes, he replied. Strength is knowing when not to run. The stars burned softly. The fracture had not broken the empire. It had reshaped it, and the galaxy would never forget the moment power chose restraint. Peace did not last. It never does. The enemy fleet withdrew, but the galaxy did not relax. Instead, it watched worlds that once feared the alien empire now questioned it. Allies doubted, rivals tested borders inside the palace. Reports arrived every hour. Trade routes disrupted, minor systems declaring independence, old enemies moving in shadows. The council gathered again. This is chaos. One noble said. We ruled because they feared us. A general added, they will push until we break. The alien queen listened, her expression calm but her thoughts heavy. The princess stood beside her, not behind that alone. Unsettled, the council. Fear is easy, the queen said. Control is harder, the council murmured. The princess stepped forward. They are afraid because they do not understand. They believe restraint means weakness. She looked around the chamber. We must show them what restraint truly is. The council stiffened. Show them how a noble asked by trusting humanity. The words struck the chamber like thunder. Humans, the weakest species, the shortest lives. The queen watched the reaction, then spoke. Humanity walks away from power, yet survives. That makes them dangerous in a way. Fleets cannot match. The council resisted. They are fragile. They cannot protect us. The princess spoke softly. They already have far away. UN sat in silence aboard a transport, unaware his name had entered imperial debate. Then his communicator activated an imperial channel. Human. UN, the queen said, we request your presence. UN closed his eyes. He had known this moment would come. The palace received him without alarms. This time guards stepped aside. The council watched him with distrust. The queen spoke. The galaxy tests us. They believe restraint is weakness. Prove them wrong. Ian remained calm. How the princess met his eyes. Teach them what humans do when they could conquer, but choose not to. The council protested. This is madness. Ian answered quietly. No, this is responsibility. The queen nodded. We will send humanitarian fleets, aid instead of weapons. Repair instead of conquest, Une added. And we go unarmed. The council nearly exploded, unarmed into hostile systems. The princess spoke. Fear spreads faster than hope, but hope lasts longer. The queen made her decision. Prepared the fleets. News spread instantly. The alien empire, once feared across the stars, was sending aid ships. No weapons, no demands. The galaxy laughed. They called it a trap. Pirate groups attacked the first convoy. The alien ships did not fight. They repaired damaged stations, shared food, restored. Life support. On traveled with the fleet, not as a leader, but as a worker. He fixed generators, patched halls, listened to frightened voices. People noticed this was not an empire of chains. This was choice. Some systems still attacked. One raid went wrong. A station exploded. Thousands lost. The council demanded retaliation. Enough, they said. This mercy costs lives. The queen felt the weight return. The princess watched the stars. The power around her stirred, reacting to pain. She clenched her fists. This is the moment, she whispered. Un heard her. The moment that decides who you are. The princess turned to her mother. If we strike back, we prove them right. The queen closed her eyes. Then we continue. The council was furious. You will lose everything, the queen answered. Then let us lose power. Before we lose ourselves. The ancient core responded, not with force but with calm. It had learned. Months passed. Aid fleets multiplied. Attacks slowed. Some worlds joined voluntarily. Fear faded, replaced by trust. The galaxy began to shift. Ian received a message from the princess. I feel lighter, she said. The power no longer pulls, it follows, Ian replied. Because it sees. Who you choose to be. The council slowly changed. Old voices stepped down. New ones rose. The empire transformed, not through battle but patience. The galaxy learned something terrifying. An empire that does not need fear, cannot be controlled, and prepared to leave again. His work was done. The queen met him privately. You changed the stars, she said. Ian shook his head. No, I reminded. Right. Them, they had a choice. The princess stood quietly. Will you return? She asked. Ian smiled gently. Only if you forget how to choose, she smiled. Then I will never need you. The ancient core pulsed softly, content. The most powerful force in the galaxy was no longer hunger. It was restraint, and the galaxy for the first time felt afraid not of destruction, but of becoming better. The galaxy slowed not in movement but in thought. For the first time in living memory, the alien empire was no longer the shadow everyone feared. It was something worse. It was an example. Worlds watched closely. Governments argued. Old powers trembled. An empire that could crush them, but chose not to. That kind of strength could not be predicted. Inside the royal capital, the ancient core rested in a steady rhythm. No surges, no demands. The princess stood alone before it, hands open. The heart calm. She did not command, she asked, and the power answered softly. The alien queen entered the chamber, not as a ruler, but as a mother. It listens to you now, she said. The princess nodded. Because I finally listened to myself. The queen felt pride, and something like peace far from the palace. In prepared to leave Imperial space for the last time, his transport was small, unimportant, easy to forget. Just like him, news channels spoke of treaties, alliances, the human influence. Ian ignored them. He knew the truth. He had not changed the galaxy. He had walked away and let others face themselves. As the transport powered up, a final message arrived. Not from the Queen, not from the Council, from the Princess. "The stars feel quiet," she said. Anne smiled. "Quiet means you are no longer fighting yourself." There was a pause. "Will the galaxy accept this path?" Anne answered, "Not all. At once some never will. But fear cannot compete with choice forever." The signal faded. The transport jumped to light inside the palace. The council chamber stood divided. Some seats were empty, their owners unwilling to serve without fear. New voices filled the gaps. Worlds had joined the Empire voluntarily. Not conquered, not threatened. The galaxy did not know how to react. A messenger rushed in. "My queen, a coalition fleet approaches, not hostile, requesting dialogue." The queen closed her eyes. "It begins." The princess stood beside her. "This time, we do not chase, we do not flee. We stand." The fleet arrived, dozens of ships, weapons powered. Down their leaders spoke. "You have power, yet you do not use it." Why? The queen looked to her daughter. The princess answered, "Because power that must be proven is already weak." The galaxy listened. The ancient core pulsed, not louder, but deeper. It had learned restraint from a species that barely lived a century. Humans. Stories spread how a human technician ran from a princess. How the queen asked, "Why?" How the answer stopped an empire from destroying itself. They spoke of weakness and were corrected. Humanity did not win wars. It ended the need for them. Ewan landed on a quiet human world, green, small, unimportant, exactly the kind of place that survived. He walked through a crowded port. No one recognized him. That felt right. He bought food, helped a broken loader, listened to people, complained about small problems, life far away. The alien princess stood before a gathering of worlds. She did not glow, did not threaten. She spoke calmly. "We once ruled through fear. It kept us safe and alone. Now we choose something harder. Trust." Some laughed, some doubted, but no one attacked because behind her the power waited, not commanded, but ready. The queen watched, realizing something profound. Her daughter no longer needed protection. She had become something stronger herself. The ancient core stabilized permanently, its purpose fulfilled. It was never meant to rule, only to respond. The galaxy entered a new age, not of peace, but of possibility. Un received one last message months later. "I am no longer breathless," the princess said. "I am alive," Un replied. "Then my answer was enough." The stars burned quietly. No fleets clashed. No empires fell. Yet everything changed because one human ran away and told the truth, and an alien queen finally listened. The galaxy learned this lesson: power fears those who can walk away from it, and humanity always could.